Yes, we
Is that okay? Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Looks good, Sheridan.
Great. Well, thank you for inviting me again. My name is Sheridan Chilvers. I'm an account manager within the D2N2 Growth Hub, and I sit in the Nottingham City team where I focus on food and drink manufacturers or life science businesses, but also support any businesses that come or referred into our team by the Central Growth Hub referral team. So I'm going to be talking a bit about the Growth Hub, the common programs of support that businesses look for, and a glimpse of the future of business support once all EU funding is gone. So for those that don't know, the D2N2 Growth Hub is part of the LEP, the Local Enterprise Partnership. LEPs are essentially a public-private entity that channels central government funding into local priorities. So that could be infrastructure, such as buildings or roads. It could be skills and training. But in this instance, it's focused on economic development. And there are 38 growth hubs around the UK, all offering slightly different services. So there are some programs that are available in Derby that aren't available in Nottingham. And our purpose is really to be a one-stop shop for business support needs. So you could spend hours searching the internet for different support, and you might find that you found something, but you're not then eligible for it. So the Growth Hub aims to take that pain away. We basically conduct what's called IDBs, Information Diagnostic Brokerage, where we find out what your needs are, what your challenges are, and we can connect you directly into the support that's relevant to you at the right time. So we are at the center of the business support ecosystem. So the Growth Hub has been around for about 8 years. We are EU funded. We're using the last remnants of that funding. So we are due to close in the current form in June 2023. We're not too sure what the future looks like in terms of business support, but I'll give you an idea of what some of the pilot schemes are currently available to help test that future model. We are focused on SMEs. So we have worked with some startups, but most of our clients are SMEs who've now taken on a number of staff or who've moved into their own premises. So I'll come on to the definition of SME in just a minute, but we can offer access to events. We have an inquiry line. So I'll encourage anybody that's not part of the Growth Hub to contact the central inquiry line, and they will then refer you onto a relevant advisor in your area. And our website is a huge source of information on the different types of business support available. I mentioned that I'm an account manager, and I'm one of about 25 to 30 across the D2N2 area. And we conduct that information diagnostic and brokerage to really understand your business needs. Unlike other growth hubs, we have access to what's called the Business Investment Fund. So this is a part of funding that we can spend on helping you to improve your business competitiveness or improve efficiency through buying new equipment. So I'll come on to that in just a moment. But there's an array of support, some of it which is specialized, all those more generic that can help you get from A to B in terms of your business growth. So as I mentioned, our priority is really to be the go-to place for business support. We are at the heart of the ecosystem, and we work in partnership with many different organizations, from the universities to place-based organizations like the Creative Quarter in Nottingham. We also work with the local authorities to promote local authority-led schemes, but we are very much a referral service connecting you to the support you need. We want you to be productive. So again, rather than you spend hours searching the internet for different support, you come to us, and it's a case of working smarter, not harder. And we can provide access to business support programs to increase your productivity and your competitive advantage. But one of the key things we also do is collect intelligence. So if we identify a common theme around business needs, we can ask our events team to organize an event around that theme, or we can feed it back to the powers that be so that in future business support, we ensure that that challenge or that theme is addressed in future iterations of the Growth Hub. So essentially how it works is you as an individual or organization would get in contact with the Growth Hub, where you would also be able to access loads of information about business support. So you can sign up to our newsletter, and that basically summarizes what support's out there. You'll be referred on to a business advisor or account manager and we will basically conduct a diagnostic and refer you onto a partner program. We are impartial, so we don't refer you onto partners for financial gain. So all our partners are either EU funded or funded directly from the government. So there should be no cost directly to you. And I mentioned earlier in the last slide that one of the things we do is collect the intelligence, the challenges businesses face, and feed that back to make sure there are no gaps in the business support. There is a huge amount of business support that's available. It's quite incredible what is out there. The slight challenge is that you just need to make sure that you fit the eligibility criteria. So we have access to funding, and that is Edrf funding at the moment, so European funding, which is a main scheme that a lot of businesses want to buy equipment to redevelop their website. So the account managers can help you identify what funding is right for you and what you are eligible for. We have networks and events. The central team organise an array of events that I would highly encourage any business to sign up for. It includes things such as how to maximize your website SEO, and it can also help with events covering HR, financial management, and things like that. So huge array. And if there's an event that you don't feel has been put on yet, get in contact with us and we can see if we can put it on for you. One of the widely accessed support programs is the Skills Access Hub. So if you are looking to recruit or train your staff, there is support there. I mentioned that we work very closely with universities, and they're a great source of technical and specialist advice. And there are programs where you can access some of their students to help with business challenges. So if you're looking to grow your social media marketing, you could potentially access digital marketing students. One of the growing topics at the moment is around energy efficiency. I think most businesses have seen an increase in their energy prices and costs. So there is funding out there to help retrofit some of your building elements such as lighting and heating to make it more energy efficient. So huge array of support out there, and your advisor, account manager can help you access that. So I mentioned that we mainly focus on SMEs, and no doubt all of you or most of you would probably meet this criteria. So fewer than 250 full-time equivalent employees, not exceeding an annual turnover exceeding 550 million, no more owned than 25% owned by another company, and you've not received more than 200,000 euros of de minimis aid. So most clients that I work with tick that box, which is absolutely fine. It's just that some of the programs of support do have additional eligibility criteria, mainly around you need a minimum of 5 members of staff, or you need a turnover of a certain amount. So I'll come on to a few examples. So one of the main sources of grant funding out there is the Business Investment Fund. So this offers a 30% intervention rate, and we can award grants of up to 3,000, all the way up to almost £30,000 towards the cost of equipment, or it could be new websites. So it's all about finding the right pot of funding that's available. There are other smaller pots of funding that might be relevant to you. But this is one of the bigger ones if you are looking at substantial investment in equipment. And with EU funding, particularly the economic development side of EU funding, we do focus on applications that have a clear focus on increasing productivity, increasing competitiveness, and taking and job generation. So if you are actually taking on more members of staff, that's even better. So I mentioned it could be used for technology investments, so new websites. What I would say is that we won't fund like-for-like changes. So if you're just simply looking for a website upgrade, EU funding can't fund that. If you are looking at sort of substantial change, so it might be that you have a static website with no e-commerce and you then want to invest in the whole e-commerce platform, then we can help. So speak to your advisor about what it is you're looking for, and our goal is ultimately to help you increase your likelihood of success in terms of applying for this. So getting in contact with your local Growth Hub advisor, and they can go through the process with you and help complete the application form. One of the programs organised by the Chamber of Commerce is called the Digital Upscaler project. This has been designed for companies that maybe are a number of years old. They've grown to a substantial size, but they've invested in lots of different software packages or technology over the years, and those technologies don't talk to each other. So the inefficiency is quite high. And instead of an expression of interest form, which you would fill in for the business investment fund, with this project, you could actually get access to a digital tech professional, and they can actually help you identify what technology is best for your operation. So there could be one piece of software that manages your inventory, your website, and your stock management, as well as your customer relationship management. So the specialist tech advisor can help you identify what's best for you. As I mentioned before, to access this project, you need a minimum of 5 members of staff. I believe you need to be generating at least £100,000 of revenue, and you need to be predominantly B2B focused. And that's sort of a trend with a lot of EU funding, is that your business has to be B2B. So some of the tips with Edrf funding, and again, this is quite common. Most funds are funded through Edrf funding until June next year. So have a clear idea of what you need in terms of funding and align it with the funding priorities. So the grant information will clearly state what the purposes of that funding are for. So the BIF funding is focused on competitive advantage, increasing your profitability, but there is a clear focus on B2B engagement. I mentioned that you can't use European funding to replace like-for-like equipment, and you can't use European funding, two sources of European funding for one piece of equipment, as that would be classed as a double counting. So all the impact that you generate as a result of funding is reported back to the government and then to the EU. So if 2 different EU funds are used, so that's effectively double counting. One way to check if you're eligible is to check your SIC code on company sales. This is your sector identification code. So when you registered your business, you would have had to identify what sector your business operates in. And that's often used to help identify what businesses are eligible or illegible for funding. So that's the key thing. You can change it. I think you can have 4 codes, just making sure that you pick one that is right for your business and that represents your business. One of the more frustrating parts of EU funding is the fact that if you have any items of equipment you want to buy or services over 25 grand, you have to find 3 quotes for that service. And this is part of the fair procurement process that we have to go through. So to meet the criteria, it's recommended that you write a specification of what you want in that piece of equipment or in that service. You explain what your winning criteria are. So is it cost? Is it speed of delivery? Is it functionality of the equipment? And a deadline in which you should receive a quote on headed paper. So once you've created your generic spec, you send it out to 3 different providers of that service. And even if 2 don't respond, as long as you can demonstrate that you've actually followed the steps, that's absolutely fine. And that one supplier that does apply, you can then choose them as your preferred supplier, and that quote will then be submitted as part of your application. So although it can be quite frustrating and time consuming, by following the criteria that's set, it means that you can actually, the turnaround time is far sooner, far quicker. So some funds can last a couple of weeks to turn around. The BIF funding, it could be up to 8 weeks. And that's mainly because the BIF team who look after the funding have to go back to the client and check details. So the better and more complete the application is at the start, the quicker the whole process can be completed. One key, really important point to make out with European funding is it's not there for retrospective funding. So if you've already bought the equipment, we can't fund you for that equipment. So until you've signed the grant agreement and it's been submitted and you've been given the go ahead, you must not make any purchases at all. If you do, your whole application will be void, and you'll have to start again with a different piece of equipment. So it's really important that you follow the process, you read the documents that have been sent you, and if you've got any questions, ask the advisor or the grant team directly, and they'll be able to help you. I mean, ultimately, we want to get this money out the door before June next year. It's very much likely that a lot of grant funding will probably close before the end of this year to give us time to complete any outstanding bids and to close the account. So get your applications in as soon as possible. One of the widely used and accessed provisions is the Skills Access Hub. So although this is also EU funded, it's not through EDRF, it's through another part. So it's a bit more flexible. But this program is excellent if you are looking to recruit new members of staff for your organization, or you're looking at training opportunities such as apprenticeships. So so we operate on it in a similar way in that I would conduct an audit of your business. The Skills Access Hub would conduct an audit of your skills requirements and then recommend what support is out there and how you can access it. And the team in the Skills Access Hub would do regular check-ins to make sure your skills are up to date and that you've got the support you need. So the skills could include either upskilling existing members of staff. It could be advice on actually writing job descriptions and making your recruitment process inclusive. It could be accessing vocational training courses, such as English, particularly if you've got a diverse workforce. There's even opportunities to offer work experience through the Skills Access Hub, and you can access government initiatives such as apprenticeships or degree level apprenticeships, and you can also access support from the universities and take on a graduate or internship placement within your business. The Skills Access Hub work in partnership with key partners, so Nottingham City Council, Futures, Nottingham College, the University of Nottingham. So again, there's a nice broad range of skills and support out there if you are looking at growing your workforce over the coming months and years. One of the successful programs that took place over the last 18 months is the peer network. So what these peer networks do is they bring individuals from businesses that operate in the same sector. So these were themed around food and drinks, life sciences, visitor economy, women in leadership. And they would spend over 12 weeks coming together, being very open and honest about the challenges they face, and basically benefiting from that crowd support. So, I'm sure many of you know that being an entrepreneur, being a founder of a business can be quite daunting and lonely, and having this peer-to-peer network can be really beneficial for not only mental well-being, but also to help with your business. It could be that somebody in that small cohort has had the same challenges you're facing, and they can help you identify ways to overcome it. So the National Peer Network Program that's been over the last 18 years is coming to an end, but D2N2 are looking at ways to keep this going into the long term. So if you are looking at building a cohort, a network of other like-minded businesses and individuals, certainly access the peer networks, as they're a great source of support. One of the areas that's probably underutilized is around R&D tax credits. So if you are developing a product or idea that has certain innovation, you should certainly speak to an R&D tax credit expert, and we can connect you to partner organizations that can help explain the process of accessing this funding. There are certain criteria that you need to meet, such as the level of knowledge and capacity in the field of science and technology, and that it's got that technical element to it. But again, we've got partners on board who can actually provide that more technical. There's a lot to go in with R&D tax credits, so it's certainly worthwhile speaking to a professional sooner rather than later, so that you're getting the maximum value back as soon as possible. Another government initiative at the moment is Help to Grow Management. As you can appreciate, many businesses over the last 2 years have had to pivot and change their strategy due to COVID and due to Brexit. So Help to Grow is specifically aimed at senior levels in an organisation. So again, if you've got about 5 members of staff, you can access this support. The programme lasts for about 12 weeks, and over those 12 weeks, you have themed meetups covering different topics, and it's very much aimed at the decision maker within the organisation to help you plan new strategies and new routes to growth within your organisation. Unlike other schemes, you are required to contribute some funding to this scheme. So the government pays 90%, so you'll only be charged £750 from it. The feedback I've had from clients who've been on it, so it's been really useful. Just having that expertise supporting the top level of the organization. And there's that well-known saying, working on the business, not in it. And taking part in a program like this helps you to just spend time with other CEOs, leaders of businesses, and taking your business forward and planning for growth. I mentioned at the start that a growing interest is around carbon reduction. So if you're in the greater Nottingham area, you can benefit from the Accelerator Reduction in Carbon Programme. And this provides funding to help upgrade your building's infrastructure. So even if you're a tenant of a building, you can access this. You might need to get landlord approval, but with this funding, they can update the lighting, the heating, insulation, and even look at renewable energy on the building to help reduce your energy bill. So if you are very much office-based now and you've got a high level of energy requirements as part of your business, particularly if you're in the manufacturing sector, this is something to look at. Another program, which I've not covered on these slides, is through the universities, sustainability enterprise. So you can actually access students who can help you look at your supply chain. They can help you develop more eco-friendly product design. So there's lots of support around the sustainability agenda from the universities, and they also have funding to help improve your energy performance of the building. They have a wider geographical range. So if you are outside of Nottingham City or Greater Nottingham, it's worth speaking to the University of Nottingham, Nottingham Trent, or the University of Derby in terms of accessing support around energy efficiencies and then carbon reduction in your business, or looking at improving the sustainability of your supply chain. There's loads of support, and again, you can access some really great students who are really passionate about reducing the impacts of climate change through reducing business carbon emissions. I mentioned at the start, the events program is broad. There's lots of information and lots of events. If you go on the D2 website, you can actually look at events not only through the D2N2 team, but also partner organizations like the BIPC and also the Chamber. So find something that you're interested in. You will probably have to register with the Growth Hub to access the events, but there's a huge resource out there, and most of it's all online, so you can access it at your own leisure. If you do have a small team, what I would say is don't feel like you have to do everything yourself. So if there's an event that one of your colleagues or team members would be quite interested in going and attending, direct it to them. We register the business, not you as an individual. So don't feel like you have to take on all the events yourself to attend, as some of them could be half day or full days events. The final part of the presentation, I just wanted to talk about the potential future of business support. I've mentioned that the Growth Hub and many European funded programs are coming to an end next year, if not sooner. So the government is currently piloting some schemes that will eventually replace all EU funding. So last summer, they launched what's called the Cultural Renewal Fund, where they asked different partnerships across the UK to put forward bids into this fund. And the Chamber of Commerce was the lead bid for the East Midlands area, and they were successful. And last month, they launched their programme, which covers the East Midlands region. It's very new. It's got short lead time in terms of getting the impact and reaching out to businesses. But this is all part of feeding insight and intelligence back to the government. And the government's planning to launch their UK Shared Prosperity Fund later on in the year. So all the Cultural Renewal Fund is basically the pilot to what will become the UK Shared Prosperity Fund. So the focus of this fund has been to invest in skills, invest in local business, invest in communities in place, and support people into employment. And there are 100 schemes nationally. So lots going on, and all this will be fed back to the government, who will then decide what the UK Shared Prosperity Fund looks like. So the Chamber of Commerce launched it as the East Midlands Accelerator, and they've identified 5 key themes as part of their bid. One was, as you can see on the screen, Net Zero Accelerator. You then got the Digital Transformation Accelerator, the Startup to Scale Up Accelerator, the Kickstart Accelerator, and the Financial Accelerator. I'll point out again, this is all very new. It's very fresh, and the Chamber is slowly releasing information about the different schemes of this. So have a look at the East Midlands Chamber of Commerce website for updates. It does cover a wider area than just Nottingham. So you can see here it's got Derbyshire, Nottingham City, parts of Nottinghamshire and Leicester City. It could be that there are other schemes in other parts, but they're led by other entities and not the Chamber of Commerce. So but if you're on this, have a look at the Chamber of Commerce website, because this is a sign of things to come. And businesses can access peer networks, specialist advice. There's new funded opportunities for placements and specialist consultancy. There are a couple of funds available. I believe they've been suspended for now due to current workload, but they could be reopened over the next few weeks. And they could be used to either subsidise graduate placements or kickstart placements, and also to purchase equipment. So there's a few things going on there. Have a look at the Chamber of Commerce website, as they'll be able to give you regular updates on that. But ultimately, if you're not part of the D2N2 Growth Hub, I would recommend that you get involved. The easiest way is to go on our website, and no matter what area you look at, whether it's events, funding, marketing, you would register, identify what your need is, and then the central Growth Hub team will refer you to your local business advisor or account manager, depending on where your business is based. And then they can direct you to the relevant support in your area. So go to the central website, it's on the screen there, www.d2n2growthhub.co.uk. And the advisors will be more than happy to help you with any query you have and direct you to that support. So that's it from me. I hope you found it useful, and if there's any questions, happy to answer them.